If I told you that something sitting in your refrigerator right now could be silently increasing your long-term cancer risk, would you go check it? Not a cigarette, not alcohol, not junk food from a fast food chain. I'm talking about leftovers. The food you cooked with love, the food you plan to eat tomorrow, the food you reheated without a second thought. Hi, my name is Dr. Nolan Walker, and today I need you to listen carefully. Because this isn't fear-mongering, it's not about banning your microwave, and it's definitely not about throwing away every leftover meal. This is about understanding what happens to certain foods when they're reheated improperly, stored too long, or cooked multiple times, and how, over years, those small habits may increase your risk of serious diseases, including pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer is one of the most aggressive and difficult cancers to detect early. It often develops silently with vague symptoms that people ignore until it's advanced. That's why prevention matters. And while no single food causes pancreatic cancer on its own, research consistently shows that chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, and exposure to certain carcinogenic compounds can increase risk over time. Some reheated foods, under specific conditions, can contribute to that internal environment. So let's talk about 5 common foods people reheat all the time, and what you need to know to do it safely. First, let's talk about reheated rice. I know rice is a staple in millions of households. It's convenient, affordable, and easy to make in large batches. But rice can become risky when it's cooked, left at room temperature for too long, and then reheated. Here's why. Uncooked rice can contain spores of a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. These spores can survive the cooking process. If the rice is left out at room temperature, those spores can multiply and produce toxins. Reheating the rice does not destroy certain toxins once they've formed. While this is more commonly associated with food poisoning symptoms like vomiting or diarrhea, repeated exposure to bacterial toxins and chronic gut inflammation may contribute to long-term health stress. Now, let me be clear. Eating reheated rice once is not going to cause cancer. The problem is habit. Cooking rice, leaving it out for hours, refrigerating it late, reheating it multiple times over several days. That repeated cycle increases the risk of toxin formation and inflammatory stress in the body. Chronic inflammation is one of the known contributors to cancer development, including pancreatic cancer. The safer approach is simple. Refrigerate rice within 1 hour of cooking. Store it in shallow containers. Keep it no longer than 1 to 2 days. Reheat it only once and make sure it's steaming hot all the way through. Next, let's talk about processed meats. This one is important. Processed meats like sausages, hot dogs, deli meats, and bacon already contain preservatives such as nitrates and nitrites. When these compounds are exposed to high heat, especially repeated heating, they can form nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are chemical compounds that have been linked in scientific research to increased cancer risk. When you fry bacon until it's crispy, then refrigerate it, then microwave it the next day, you're subjecting those compounds to repeated thermal stress. The same goes for reheating sausages multiple times or charring them. The pancreas is particularly sensitive to certain chemical exposures. Long-term consumption of heavily processed and repeatedly reheated meats may contribute to cellular damage over time. Again, this is about pattern, not panic. If processed meat is part of your diet, minimize reheating cycles, avoid charring, use lower heat when possible, and balance it with antioxidant-rich foods like vegetables, which help counter oxidative stress. Now let's move to cooking oils. This one surprises people. Reheating oil, especially vegetable oils high in polyunsaturated fats, can produce harmful oxidation products. When oil is heated repeatedly, like in deep frying or when leftover fried food is reheated in the same oil, it breaks down. It forms aldehydes and other potentially toxic compounds. These compounds can increase oxidative stress in the body. Oxidative stress damages cells. Over time, repeated cellular damage without proper repair can increase cancer risk. Studies have shown that repeatedly heated cooking oils can produce significantly higher levels of harmful byproducts compared to fresh oil. If you've ever reused frying oil multiple times, this applies to you. If you order takeout fried food and reheat it the next day in a pan with added oil, you're increasing heat exposure again. The safer approach? Avoid reusing oil. If you fry, do it occasionally and discard the oil afterward. When reheating fried food, use an oven or air fryer rather than adding more oil to a pan, and consider oils with higher heat stability, like avocado oil, when cooking at high temperatures. Now let's talk about chicken. Reheated chicken isn't automatically dangerous, but protein structures change when cooked and reheated multiple times. Overcooking and reheating protein-rich foods at high temperatures can lead to the formation of heterocyclic amines, or HCAs. These compounds form when muscle meats are cooked at high temperatures, especially grilling or frying. HCAs have been studied for their potential carcinogenic effects. The more intense the heat and the longer the exposure, the higher the levels can be. So if you grill chicken until it's very charred, refrigerate it, then reheat it again at high heat, you may be increasing exposure to these compounds. Moderation and method matter. Avoid charring. Trim burnt portions. Reheat gently rather than blasting it at maximum heat. And again, pair your meals with vegetables rich in antioxidants, which help neutralize harmful compounds. Now, the fifth food might shock you. Potatoes. Specifically, reheated starchy foods like potatoes that were cooked at high temperatures. When starchy foods like potatoes are fried or baked at high heat, they can form a compound called acrylamide. Acrylamide forms when sugars and an amino acid called asparagine react at high temperatures. Acrylamide has been classified as a probable human carcinogen based on animal studies. When you fry potatoes until they're dark brown, then refrigerate them, then reheat them at high heat again, you can increase acrylamide formation. French fries, roasted potatoes, hash browns, especially when dark and crispy, contain higher levels. Reheating them aggressively can increase the problem. Here's the key point. It's not the potato itself, it's the cooking method and repeated high temperature exposure. Cook potatoes to a golden yellow rather than dark brown. Avoid burning. Reheat at moderate temperatures. Now I want to step back for a moment. I don't want you leaving this video afraid of your kitchen. Fear is not the goal. Awareness is. Pancreatic cancer risk is influenced by many factors. Smoking, obesity, chronic pancreatitis, uncontrolled diabetes, genetic predisposition. These are major contributors. Diet plays a supportive role. The issue is not one reheated meal. It's long-term patterns of high heat cooking, processed foods, repeated reheating, and chronic inflammation. Your pancreas sits quietly behind your stomach, producing enzymes to digest food and hormones like insulin to regulate blood sugar. It works hard every day. When exposed to chronic inflammatory signals, whether from poor diet, metabolic stress, or toxin exposure, it can become more vulnerable over time. So what can you do starting today? First, cool leftovers quickly and refrigerate promptly. Bacteria multiply rapidly between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. The faster you cool food, the safer it is. Second, avoid reheating food more than once. Each heating cycle increases chemical changes. Third, use lower heat when reheating. Gentle warming reduces formation of harmful compounds. Fourth, diversify your diet. Include cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cabbage. Include berries. Include leafy greens. These foods contain natural compounds that support detoxification pathways and reduce oxidative stress. Fifth, pay attention to portion sizes. Overeating, especially high-fat processed foods, increases pancreatic workload. And finally, don't ignore symptoms. Persistent upper abdominal pain that radiates to the back, unexplained weight loss, jaundice, new-onset diabetes in adulthood without clear cause. These require medical evaluation. I want you to understand something very important. Cancer does not appear overnight. It develops over years of accumulated cellular damage. Your daily habits matter. The small decisions, how you cook, how you store, how often you reheat, add up over decades. This is about stacking the odds in your favor. If you've been reheating leftovers for years, don't panic. Just adjust. Make small improvements. Store food properly. Avoid burning. Don't reuse oil. Eat fresh more often when possible. Your body has remarkable repair mechanisms. When you reduce exposure to harmful compounds, your cells can focus on healing rather than defending. Let me also address a common misconception. Microwaves themselves do not make food radioactive or cancer-causing. The issue is not the microwave. It's what's happening chemically within the food due to repeated high heat, oxidation, and breakdown of compounds. So if you use a microwave properly to reheat safely stored food once, that's generally fine. The problem is repeated cycles, improper storage, and high temperature browning. And I know some of you are thinking, Dr. Walker, I've eaten leftovers my whole life, and I'm fine. And that may be true. Risk is not destiny, it's probability. Two people can have identical habits and different outcomes due to genetics and environment. But why increase risk unnecessarily when simple changes can reduce it? Imagine your health as a bank account. Every healthy choice is a deposit. Every harmful exposure is a withdrawal. You don't go bankrupt from one purchase. You go bankrupt from repeated spending without balance. So here's my challenge to you. Open your refrigerator today and look at what's inside. How long has that rice been there? Did you reheat that chicken twice already? Is that oil sitting on the stove from last night's frying session? Small awareness creates big change. And before we end, I want to say something encouraging. You have more control than you think. While pancreatic cancer is serious and often aggressive, many risk factors are modifiable. Maintaining a healthy weight, staying physically active, controlling blood sugar, avoiding smoking, limiting alcohol, and improving cooking habits all work together to reduce overall risk. This video isn't about perfection. It's about intention. If you found this helpful, share it with someone who always reheats leftovers without thinking twice. Sometimes, the most powerful health shifts come from the smallest kitchen habits. I'm Dr. Nolan Walker, and my goal is to give you information you can actually use. Not to scare you, but to empower you. Your pancreas may be quiet, but your choices speak loudly. Take care of your body today so it can take care of you tomorrow. And I'll see you in the next video.